Welcome back to the Tree of Life Crochet Along. This is going to be part 93 of the Crochet Along, and we are finally to the first round of the border, the edging of the Afghan. And in the directions it says border round 1, right side, chain 2, turn, half double crochet evenly spaced around outside edge of Afghan, working 3 half double crochets in each corner, join with a slip stitch in the first half double crochet. And well, here are my instructions. Mine are drawn out, I guess. And I don't know if you want to write these down or not. You don't have to. You can just follow along with me. But this is how I'm going to do it. I have to write out every little step. And I tested it on the edges. I did 1 half double crochet for every row, every space. And then I also tested 1 half double crochet in every other space because I wanted to see how they were going to work out. And I did some tightly, I did some loosely and normal. So I wanted to find out what would work best for us, for this Afghan. The one in every other space along the right and left edges, that made it tighten up way too soon. Like it was, even if I did it loose, it was tightened. And then, oh well, that's the top edge. Let me turn it over to a side. It would tighten up about here, but the rest of the blanket, see how stretchy it is? If you grab your blanket, and I'm sure no matter what yarn you used, it's going to be stretchy, which is awesome. I love that. And so the edge was tightening up way too soon, and I don't like that at all. So I went ahead and tried 1 in every single space, and I thought it was going to be too bunched up. That's why I wanted to try it different ways. And you know what? 1 in every single row space worked out perfectly, as long as it wasn't too loose. So that's how we're going to do it. And I'm actually going to follow my instructions. And let's see. The first thing we're going to do is, first of all, I have not chained up from my last row. I just left it like this. And the directions say to chain 2. Okay, so I'm going to, I'm going to go ahead and chain 2. The last row we did ended on a backside, on the backside of our Afghan. I'm going to chain 2. I'm going to make sure they're not too loose, a little bit tight, and then I'm going to turn my Afghan, and then I'm going to put a half double crochet. This chain 2 doesn't count as any stitch. This is a corner, and we're going to end up having to put 3 half double crochets in each corner around. And for now it's going to have 1. We're going to yarn over, insert your hook into that first stitch, pull up a loop, and then we're going to pull through all 3 loops on our hook, and there's our first half double crochet. And we're going to work all the way around the Afghan, and when we get back to this corner, we're going to put 2 more right there. Okay, and that way we'll have the 3 that we'll need to make it to make the corner look just right. What we're going to do is we're going to put here it says chain 2, turn to front side of Afghan, half double crochet in first and each remaining stitch in top row. And then when we get to the end of this row, we're going to add 2 more half double crochets to the last stitch in the top row. That will put 3 in that left corner, top left corner. But for now, we need to go ahead and put a half double crochet in each stitch in the row, down that top edge. Okay, so it's going to be still 48 per repeat. Okay, if you want to still use your stitch marker, which I think I might do just to make sure how many stitches I have. Okay, so we already have our first half double crochet, and I'm going to go into the very next stitch, yarn over, insert your hook, pull up a loop, and then pull through all 3. That's half double crochet number 2, yarn over into the next stitch, half double crochet number 3, again, half double crochet number 4, and then into the next stitch, 5. Okay, I'm going to keep going, and I'm going to count up to 48 and check it against my stitch marker. Okay, so I already have 2, 4, 6. I'm going to go all the way up to 48, and I'll meet you back here at half double crochet number 48, and we can check it against our stitch marker. Okay, so give me 48 half double crochets. Alrighty, so I've got my 48, my first 48 half double crochets, and I'm going to check it against my stitch marker and make sure that 48 half double lines up with my stitch marker, which it does. Okay, we want to make sure that we have the right amount of stitches. And now we're going to do 48 more, and we're going to do 48, count 48 per repeat. You could just put a half double crochet in each stitch all the way down, all at once. I'm going to do 48 at a time and check it against the stitch marker. 2, 3, 4, 5 half double crochets, and I'm going to let you go ahead and finish this row and just check it with your stitch marker at each 48 interval, and I will see you at the end of this row. Alrighty, I'm to number 47 of the last repeat in this first border round, and I need 48 per repeat. Okay, and we're going to be turning the corner here and then working down the left edge of the Afghan, and we're going to need to have enough chain or enough stitches in this stitch to make a good turn. So we're going to go ahead and add 2 more half double crochets to this stitch right here into that spot. So we're going to yarn over, go into that stitch where we put that last half double crochet, and pull up a loop and pull through all 3. There's 2, and then we need 1 more, and that 1 more is going to count as the first stitch on this edge of the blanket. Okay, so yarn over, go into that same stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through all 3, and that gave us a beautiful turning corner, and that counts as the first stitch. And we're going to turn our Afghan so that this left edge is now on top. Okay, and now we are going to make our way down the left edge of the Afghan, and we're going to put a half double crochet into each space that we see, and we already have this first one filled in, and we need to now go into that one. It looks a little bigger because it's a half double. Just one into that space, and then one into that space, and then one into that space, one into every row. And these are very short rows here. These are double crochets, so we need one there and there and there and there all the way down, and just don't make them too loose. And I'm going to keep count of how many is down this edge so that we'll know how many we need to match it on the other side going up the right edge of the blanket, just to make sure that they're even. So for every 20 I'm going to mark it on my paper, and we already have our first one. Okay, remember we put it in that corner. That counts as the first one on the edge, and we're going to yarn over and go into this next space over here. Okay, half double crochet right there, that's 2. Okay, and then if you stretch your work apart, you can see the next row down, the next row over. Okay, it's right there. Okay, so if you don't stretch it out, you can't really see it because that half double crochet is smushing it. We're going to yarn over, stretch your work out a little bit so you can see that next row, and put your hook right in there. Okay, and put a half double crochet. Okay, and now the rest of the spaces are easier to see. We're going to go, that was 1, 2, 3, right? Yeah, 1, 2, 3, and the next one, 4, yarn over, next space. Don't be afraid to pull your work apart like this. Stretch it out so you can see that next space. Okay, you go into that next space. Five, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Don't forget to yarn over and make it a half double crochet into each space, and we've already done 10. Yarn over, (11), 12, right there, next space, 13, next space, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Okay, I'm just going to do a few more with you so you can see which spaces to go into. Okay, and it's one space at the end of each row of single crochets. Okay, I've already done 20. Okay, I'm going to mark it on my paper here. Just going to put 20 and then a comma. Okay, and then yarn over, and the next space, half double crochet, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, just into every space going down. And so I've done 10 more so far, and it's the perfect amount of stretch. It stretches with the blanket perfectly whenever you do one per line. And imagine this at half the stretchiness. It was stopping right about here and the rest of the blanket was stretching out, but this was really tight on the edge, and I didn't like that with one every other line. You know, I just didn't like it. So one for every row is perfect. I'm going to do a few more and then I'll let you finish on down the edge by yourself. Okay, so I've done 10 more, and that's 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. Okay, see how I'm just going into every space on down the line? Be careful not to put 2 in one space, and be careful not to skip one. Okay, so I made 20 more, so I'm going to put a 40, and I'm just going to keep count that way. And I'm going to let you finish on down this row, down this edge, and put one half double crochet in every space, all the way down to the very last row, and I will meet you right back here at the end of this row, at the end of this edge rather. So I'll see you back here in just a few. Alrighty, I have come to the first divider, and I worked out a couple different ways to do this, and to come up with the prettiest way, the most even way. Before you get to the divider, you have a stitch. You have that stitch right above it, and I'm stretching it out real good so you can see it. Okay, and then you have the actual crab stitch, or whatever it's called, and then you have a stitch under it, and then you have another crab stitch, and then another stitch under it, and then another crab stitch row, and then you have the stitch under it. And if you put a half double crochet into each of those, it's going to get really bunched up, so it's going along really nice along here, and then it's going to look like that where the divider is if you do that with every into every row. So what we're going to do is, before you get to that first stitch right there, I want you to go ahead and work into that stitch that row right above that first row of crab stitch, and it's the one that's worked into the back loop behind that crab stitch. We're going to yarn over and put a half double crochet right in there, and it looks a little flimsy, but go ahead and put it in there, right there, and then yarn over, and on this first row, right on the row of the crab stitches, we're going to put a half double crochet, and we're going to go right into this part right here and make sure we have enough to hold the edging without breaking. Pull up a loop. Okay, we're right there in the crab stitch, just like that. And then you have this under this crab stitch and right above the second crab stitch. We're not going to work into that. We're going to go right into the crab stitch below it. Okay, so yarn over, make a half double crochet somewhere in here. Okay, right here is good. Okay, right there. And then you have that other row behind, right below it. Okay. Okay, right into the row of the crab stitches, and then that back loop single crochet, we're going to skip over that and go into the crab stitch. Okay, so yarn over into the crab stitch row. Okay, and then now we're going to go into that stitch right below the crab stitch, right below this row, yarn over into that stitch, half double crochet. Okay, and see, that looks a lot better. It's not all bunched up. Okay, so one right there, right above the crab stitch, one into the crab stitch, into the crab stitch, into the crab stitch, and then right into the next row below that. Okay, so that's how we're doing along the divider part. Okay, and if I need to show you at the next divider, then I will. And that is, let's see, I need to count my stitches still. So that was 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, and I'm going to keep counting, and I will see you in just a little bit. Okay, here I am to the second divider down the left edge, and I'm going to do the same thing that I did with the first divider. Okay, there's that one stitch. It was worked into the back loop of that row, and we're going to put a half double crochet right into that stitch. And now we're going to put a half double crochet into this crab stitch. Okay, it's a little tight. Just keep wiggling your hook around until you find a really good spot for it. Okay. Okay. And now into the next row of crab stitch. Okay, there's actually a little spot right there we can work into on that one. Okay, right in there, right into that stitch, into that row, rather. Okay, now that was 1, and then 2, and then 3, and now into 4, and then 5. So 5 on the edge, starting right above and then right below the divider. So I'm going to say 5 for each divider edge. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and so that's how I'm doing the divider, and it just looks a lot neater. And I'm going to keep on going, putting 1 half double crochet into each space all the way down, and I'll see you at the corner of this edge. Okay, I'm towards the end of this left side of the Afghan, and I'm going to keep adding a half double. And this is the last row. This is where we started our chain. 9. Okay, so I came up with 169 spaces. That doesn't exactly mean 169 rows up and down. So 169 for the left side all the way down, and then we're going to add 2 more half double crochets to that stitch so we can go around the corner. Okay. So we're going to yarn over and go into this same stitch that we put our last half double crochet into. There's 1 more and 2 more. So now we have 3 in this stitch, and it looks a little stretched out. It'll be fine. That's just where we got started with our larger hook. Okay, I'm going to turn my work so that the bottom of the Afghan is now facing up. Excuse me. Okay, and now we're going to put 1 half double crochet into each stitch going across, and they look a little different. They don't look like the top edge because of this, the starting chain. Okay, so we should still have 48 per repeat, and let's see, I don't have my stitch markers in. I can count. Oh yes, I do. I do have my stitch markers in, but you can count. Just count 48 and then 48 and then 48. And if you have 3 repeats in your Afghan like we're doing in this crochet along, it's going to be 144 half double crochets all the way down this bottom edge. And let's see, we already did our filled in our first one. Okay, so we already have number 1 half double crochet, and even if we skip a space or put 1 too many where they shouldn't be, we still need to have 144 so it can match the top edge. Okay, so it's important to count for that reason. I'm going to go into the next little space here, yarn over, go into that next little space, pull up a loop, and pull through all 3. Okay, try to keep that tail out of your way. So that's number 2, and I'm going to keep going down the row into each space that I think is a or you know what, we can go right into this space right here. There we go. Let's see, go right into there. Let's see how that looks. No. Okay, see, obviously I skipped a little space. So right there, I'm going to put my hook in, half double crochet. So that's 1, 2, 3. Okay, and there's the next space. 4, and there's the next space. Half double crochet number 5, 6. Okay, and see that there's 7. Well, let me see. Oh, let me see if we're focused. Okay, right there. Two, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, and you see the space right here, not it's under the little triangle shaped. It's right there. Okay, so that should be half double crochet number 8 right into that spot, and then yarn over and go into the next little spot under the next little triangle looking thing. Okay, and keep doing that all the way down with a half double crochet, and I want you to count your stitches and count to 48, and I'm going to meet you back here at 48 just to see if we're doing it right, to see if it lines up with our stitch marker that we have from the beginning of the Afghan, and I'll be right back at number 48. Okay, I am done with my 48th half double crochet, and here is my stitch marker, and we are right on point. Your stitch marker should be in the row one stitch after your stitch marker. Since we have the work turned upside down, we're doing good. Okay, and so when you do 48 more, it should be lined up with the stitch before your stitch marker. Okay, since the Afghan is basically upside down right now, then we're doing good. And it looks a little wobbly on the bottom. I think it's because we used the larger hook, but it's not real bad. It's not bad at all, actually. It's going to be beautiful. I just cannot wait to see it when it's all finished. So I'm going to do 48 more, and then I will come right back and we'll see if it's lined up where it should be after 48 more. I'll be right back. So continue on with your half double crochet in each stitch all the way down, and I'll meet you back here in 48 half double crochets. Okay, I'm at the end of the second repeat. We've got 48 along the bottom edge. We've got 48 half double crochets, and it lines up with the stitch before the stitch marker, so that's perfect. I'm going to go ahead and do 48 more, and then we'll be at the end of this row, and I'll meet you at the corner. Alrighty, I'm almost to the corner. I'm at number 46, and it looks like I don't have an edge there. I don't know what the deal is, but I am going to make one. So if yours is the same way, just make an edge. So I'm at 46, and I still have 2 more stitches left to do. Okay, so I'm going to put one right there in the next stitch, and there's 47, but I need one more. Okay, so I'm just gonna put one right there. And call that 48. Okay. I don't like that. Okay, I don't want to take away from the edge. Well, no, that's the same stitch. Okay, so in there it goes. Okay, so that's 48. I know that I have 48 half doubles on the bottom of the Afghan and 48 on the top, so we know that matches. And we're going to add 2 more to this stitch, 2 more half double crochets into that space. Okay, so because we need a corner, so 1 and 2, and this last one that we made counts as number 1 for this edge. Okay, we're going to turn our Afghan clockwise. Okay, so that we can get this last edge. Okay, we need to put a half double crochet rather, into each space. Okay, so we already have one, and we're going to go into the next space. Don't forget to yarn over. Okay, there's 2, and into the next space, 3, yarn over into the next space, 4, 5, 6, 7, okay, keep going, 8, 9, 10, and keep going. And I'm going to count as I go just to make sure the numbers match up from side to side. I'm at 10 already. Whenever I get up to the first divider here, I'll come right back. Okay, here I am to the first divider, going up the right side of the Afghan. Okay, we're going to go ahead and, if you stretch it apart, you'll see this last stitch, and then you'll see this stitch that was worked into the back loop of that row. We're going to go ahead and put a half double crochet into both of those. So 1 and 2, and then in this row, if you stretch this up somewhere in here, not this back loop row for the next one, but there it is right there. If you pull this up, you can see that space right under the bottom edge of that crab stitch. We're going to yarn over and put a half double crochet into that first space right there. Okay, right there. And then we're going to do it again for the next 2 crab stitch rows. We're going to yarn over and find that space right under, right under that crab stitch row, and put a half double crochet into that, and then the next one right there. There we go. And then of course this space right here gets 1, 2, half double crochet. Alright, and now half double crochet into each and every one all the way up to the next divider. Okay, each one gets a half double crochet. I'll meet you at the next divider. Okay, I am to my next divider. I'm going to just keep putting 1 into each space right up to the divider. And I'm going to keep counting. That was 6 for me. I'm going 20 at a time. And then into this stitch right under that crab stitch row. 7. And then again, push up that crab stitch row. 8, 9, and in the very next stitch, 10, and every stitch, every space all the way to the next corner, and I will see you at the next corner. Okay, I am coming up to the last corner, and what we're going to do is we're not going to keep working all the way up like right there, because that's the end. That's where we began, the first corner of the border. Okay, so I'm going to keep putting 1 in each space, and each space. And right here is the last stitch, and it's already got 1 half double crochet in it. We're going to add 2 more. Okay, see where we made that chain 2 and then the half double crochet? Okay, right there. We're going to yarn over and add 2 more half double crochets. and then we're going to put a slip stitch, not into the top of the chain 2, but over here in top of that half double crochet, a slip stitch, and there we go. That is our perfectly rounded corner. We're not going to cut it, we're not going to tie off anything because we're going to do some more rounds, but that is the end of round 1 of this border that kind of seems to take forever, but that's okay. It's going to be so beautiful when it's done, and I will see you for the next round in the next video.